Welcome back, car nerds, definite virgins, to another episode of Between Two Cars. Is Street Street passing again? Damn, I'm trying to give people 2 tickets today. Anyways, today we are going to be talking about things you should not buy. Personally, things I wouldn't buy. Let's just address it like that because someone's going to be mad that I'm telling them how to spend their money. These are things I personally would not buy for any of my vehicles. I will also be talking about some things, surprisingly to some, that I would buy. We'll talk about some China parts, some that are good job, buy them, and some that are bad job, don't buy them. So let me pull out my little list, my trusty list that I made while I was taking a dump right now. Um, and let's get started. First thing, let's start out with a heater, something that's going to trigger a lot of people. Carbon fiber parts. Waste of money. Absolute waste of money. If you see a guy cruising around with carbon fiber fenders, a carbon fiber trunk, and a carbon fiber hood, 9 times out of 10, he's slow and he wasted all of his money on carbon fiber parts. Carbon fiber it's all show, no go. There are some exceptions to carbon fiber, like if a dude is fully gutted, he's got carbon fiber doors, carbon fiber trunk, no passenger seat, it's like a 10-speed NA Coyote, carbon fiber every little bit. Okay, there's an exception there. I still personally wouldn't do that. You could have just bought a blower and you'd be way faster, but whatever. But if you go out and buy like carbon fiber fenders and leave them exposed, like it's kind of goofy. I'm just gonna say it. Personally, kind of goofy. I do, well no, actually, yeah, I have a carbon fiber hood on the Supra. That's like the only carbon fiber panel I've ever bought. And the only reason why I bought it is because it has heat extractors. So it, once again, sort of an exception there. But if you just buy like a carbon fiber replacement fender or hood, and you just leave it exposed because, oh, I got carbon fiber, it's kind of tacky. Personally, I think it's a waste of money. I personally would not do that. You can spend your money better elsewhere and get more enjoyment out of your dollar. So that's where this is always coming from. Kind of what benefits you as a car enthusiast more. Some carbon fiber that weighs half a pound lighter, if that. Don't think so. So personally, I wouldn't buy any carbon fiber panels like that. Save your money. Big carbon wings, another thing, very popular in the track community, but let's be real here. You go to a car meet, you see an Evo 10 with a big track wing on the back. He's probably not tracking his car. You could tell when a car is being tracked and when it's not. You could usually tell by its wheel and tire setup, as well as just other things as well, like your seat or just, you know, foundational modifications, I don't know, cooling mods, stuff like that, just track prep shit. But just going out and buying a big carbon fiber wing, not the brightest idea. I wouldn't recommend doing that. They're expensive. They slow you down at the end of the day just for normal street driving. And yeah, they look cool. I get it. They look cool, but I think it's just ultimately a waste of money. I've never bought a big wing for any of my vehicles. If we get to the S650 more and more track capable, down the line, it might need a big wing, but you have to pair that with equal downforce up front. You can't just throw a big wing on a car and have no downforce up front. You are going to have a severe, unbalanced vehicle at speed in corners, and that's when it matters the most. So if you do something to the rear, you kind of have to do something to the front. Big splitter, nice big under tray, make it go as far back as possible. That will help majorly. So just don't come into the car scene and just buy a big wing. Not the brightest idea. All right, let's start talking about actual performance mods. Do not, and I repeat, do not buy cheap mufflers. When I was shopping for mufflers for this car back when it was a 3-valve, it already had an exhaust system on it. I wanted it louder, and I would go on OfferUp and type in, you know, oh, 06 Mustang GT, axleback, or catback, or whatever I'm looking for. And I would get a lot of ads from China companies with China mufflers. And I was like, well, they look like a nice design. They look like they got a good design. Let me just tell you, they 100% do not. I recently, within the last year, got a muffler system for a certain vehicle. I'm not going to name drop anything. And it was probably the worst exhaust system I've ever had. It was installed by me right here, and it made the car sound straight piped. So I went and did a little digging, and I looked into the muffler system on the street muffler that I purchased, and it was pretty much a straight pipe. Like, if you can imagine a pipe going through what looks like a muffler, you could see straight through, which is fine, but there were no baffles. There was one, maybe 1.5 to 2 inch gap that would theoretically allow some sound to get split up and, you know, get trapped in the baffle. But there was no baffling. There was no, like, you know, cheese grater type stuff going on. You guys know what the inside of mufflers looks like, right? There was none of that. So I had to ultimately get a different exhaust system. And that just goes to show that cheap definitely is not always better. So I would stay away from cheap mufflers for a handful of reasons. 1, sound quality. 2, drone. And 3, just overall fit and finish. You're not going to be happy. If you're going for high horsepower, they can explode. Like, they can literally blow up and fall apart. So I know when I was building this vehicle, I wanted to go with a certain very popular brand. Starts with a C, ends with an A. Wanted to go with this very popular brand, and my tuner warned me. He said that he's seen them fall apart at like 800 horsepower. So he said, do not do that. So I didn't. I have MagnaFlows on this. This is factory mufflers, and I have Valvetronic on the S650. Been happy with all of them, so no complaints there. On the other end of that note, cheap mufflers, bad. Cheap intakes, I would say, is probably even worse. There's nothing worse than when you see underneath the hood of a older vehicle. It's usually Hondas and Integras that have these, and you see that cheap aluminum intake, that with the cheap filter. Nothing worse than that. I would not recommend buying any intake less than like a few $100 for any vehicle. The intake on this car retails for $1,000. It's a carbon fiber intake. It's crazy. I got it at a steal from somebody on OfferUp. It was unopened and everything. It was great. Got it for an absolute steal. But I would not recommend buying any intake that is just cheap China stuff. There's a few reasons why. 1, you want to protect your engine. You want to protect your investment. You want to make sure that your car can continue to run healthy. If you have a poor filtration device, you're going to suck up dirt, dust, and all this shit, and eventually your motor is going to go. Also with that, they just aren't functional. Cheap cold air intakes usually aren't sucking air from outside, you know, a vehicle, engine bay or something like that. And the materials that they use, they're not ideal. Like, you don't really want, at least to my knowledge, a giant metal intake tube, because that stuff gets heat soaked and it's going to heat up the air coming in. There are, once again, exceptions like turbo systems, charge pipes, and all this stuff, but that air is all intercooled. That air going through it is cooled down already. If you are just having idle engine air coming in, let's say, I wish I could pop this hood and show you guys, but let's say I have an intake and it's metal piping, metal piping, metal piping, metal piping, and then there's like a filter right here. After a certain while, all of that is just going to be the ambient temperature of underneath the hood, and no matter what, it's not going to cool down. So I wouldn't invest in any of that. I'm trying to think, what is the intake material made of on the Whipple? Once again, it's an intercooled vehicle, but I think it's plastic and rubber and like just a couple couplers. So rule of thumb, don't buy a cheap intake. A lot of the times you can get away with just a drop-in filter if you are on a budget. Or even nowadays, factory intakes are usually pretty good. Like, I know Brian, No Lift Shift, he bought an intake for his S650 or S550 back when he was NA full bolt-on, and our tuner actually told him to get an 18 and up intake because the factory 18 and up intake for the S550 was really efficient and did a really good job and sucked in air from outside the vehicle. So just goes to show, aftermarket is not always better than stock. So do not cheap out on buying an intake. All right, this is the biggest scam, in my opinion, for most car guys: dress-up bolts. I have never once purchased dress-up bolts, ever. And I don't even know if I've ever inquired to like get sponsored by dress-up bolts. I think it's just dumb, like, especially when underneath the hood is like relatively stock. If you're going for a full-on show car look, I get it. But to the average car guy, nobody's gonna pop the hood and be like, oh damn, it's stock, but these dress-up bolts are really fucking nice. I think that money can be spent better elsewhere. If you're done with your car and it's the final thing you do, sure. Or if you're building a car from the ground up, kind of like I am with the Supra, then maybe. I don't even think on the Supra I'm going to put dress-up bolts. I had like some titanium hardware that I bought off of my buddy because I was helping his business. And it all got charred, but now it's like a purple color because, well, titanium heats up and it turns purple. So it's nice. Anyways, that's besides the fact. But yeah, I wouldn't like go out and just buy dress-up bolts just for shits and giggles. I think it's better to save that money for something else, you know? Like, let's say you were gonna buy dress-up bolts, save that money. Save up for a better intake, save up for a throttle body or something, save up for X, Y, and Z. You get what I'm saying? Your money can be better spent elsewhere. All right, here we go. Let's move on to the interior. Interior, there's a lot of ways you can waste money in the interior of a vehicle. And once again, you could buy this stuff if you want, I just wouldn't. Cheap, not even cheap, any carbon fiber overlay, garbage. It's a sticker. I don't care if in the sticker there's actual carbon fiber. I don't care. If it is an overlay and you are not replacing the panel, you are doing jack shit to your vehicle except for making it look nicer. At that point, just wrap it in fake carbon fiber. You're doing no difference. Like, and it looks stupid too half the time because if you wrapped the actual piece, you would cover the whole piece. But these stupid carbon fiber overlays, you can still see like the edges and the gaps and stuff, and they're like lifted and bubbled up and stuff. Like, it doesn't look good. Just don't buy them. They're dumb. I've, once again, never bought any of those. Instead, either A, buy real carbon fiber, or B, just buy carbon fiber wrap. If you're gonna use fake shit anyways, use the fake shit that will do a better job. Just buy carbon fiber wrap. A lot of that stuff nowadays looks really good. Nobody will even know. I guarantee it. Just buy carbon fiber wrap. Do it correctly. Cheap seats. Cheap seats are probably one of the worst things you could do. If you are buying some no-name garbage or you're buying some cheap China seats, you are going to have a miserable time driving that vehicle. I bought some very cheap seats for my Honda. They were NRG seats. I'm not sponsored by them. I know they want to work with me, but I'm going to be honest. The seats I bought from them were dog shit. They were absolute dog shit. I'm sure they have better seats, and I might be getting some nicer seats for this vehicle because these Corbos are really old and really stiff, and I don't like them. But those seats that I had in the Honda were god fucking awful. You would climb in, the materials felt like shit, they didn't feel sturdy, the brackets that came with them did not fit correctly, so I had to go out and buy spacers to put in between the hardware so I can use the fucking sliders, and even then, it's just a shit show. Absolute shit show. Do not buy cheap seats. Save up and buy a more reputable brand. I like Carbu, whatever you want to pronounce it, Corbeu, however you want to pronounce it. I like them. Recaros are also nice. Sparcos are obviously also nice. There's a lot of good brands out there. Do your research, listen to people's honest opinions, and buy a good seat. If you're paying less than $500 for a seat, they're probably dog shit. I'm going to be honest with you. They are probably dog shit. Now, buckets are a little different. It's kind of hard to fuck up a bucket, but they might not have the same safety regulations as other seats. It'll feel probably sturdy because it's a one-piece bucket, but it's not going to have the nicest materials. It's not going to be the most comfortable, and it might not have the safety stamps and stuff so you can actually compete if you wanted to. So just don't buy cheap seats. Okay, cheap eBay headlights and taillights. Do not recommend this whatsoever. You don't know how many times I'm driving down the road, and I'm sure you guys have seen this all too, and you see a BMW, a Honda, an Acura, an Infiniti, and they have aftermarket headlights and taillights, and there's always a fucking light in them that is out. Always. There's always one light bar, one LED, one something that is burnt out. They are dog shit. These headlights and stuff that you're buying, they are not meant for... I don't know what they're meant for, to be honest. They're just shit. I was going to say they're not meant for everyday driving, but that doesn't even make sense. They probably are, but they're just dog shit. They just don't have good quality control. You might get lucky and it might last a year or 2 years, but after a while it's going to be burnt out and it's not going to be repairable. With most OEM stuff, You can repair it. Obviously, you can't with these LEDs, modern day shit. You just can't. So, yeah, you might have to buy a new one every year or two, and that might not be the end of the world for you. Maybe you don't mind that. But personally, I've just never seen or experienced seen people experience good luck with these eBay headlights and taillights. They always look like dog shit. The materials, once again, always garbage. After sitting in the sun for 6 months, they turn yellow instantly. It's just not ideal. Don't recommend it. Save your money. Buy something with more reputation, more quality behind it. And just, yeah, don't make a mistake. I'm trying to think, did I ever buy any cheap China shit? Any cheap China headlights or taillights? Not really. It would have only been for like my V6, because after that I kind of learned not to be an idiot. I don't think I have. So people were warning me about like the vet lights. Not warning me, I was reading comments on their posts and stuff. And people were warning other people like, oh, these things don't last. I've had no issues with them, and I've had them on my car now for a few months. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes. All right, now let's talk about some questionable mods that I do give a green light to. First things first, cheap wheels. I don't care what wheels you put on your car. I do not care. But it depends. Let's use that Miata at SEMA, for example. We're talking about a high-end SEMA build. Something with supposedly a Lamborghini motor and twin turbos. And it was on fucking JNCs. The moment I saw the JNCs, I knew something was up. I knew something was up. And I was right. I don't care what you put on your car. But I do think it depends. Should JNCs go on a Supra? No. Should XXRs go on a Skyline? No. Should VMSs go on a ZR1? No. But wheels are fucking wheels, man. They go round. Some people complain and say, oh, well, if you crash with a rep, it's going to explode. But if you crash with a real wheel, it's just going to bend. They both are broken. I don't really think it fucking matters at that point. I had an accident when I was in my Supra, and I hit a piece of drive shaft on the freeway, and my CCW exploded. It was repairable, and the face didn't get fucked up, but it still broke, and it's a real wheel. It's a CCW. Very expensive set of wheels. So I don't think I would have been better off if I had, ESRs on it, for instance. The only thing that would have been more beneficial if I had ESRs on it is I could have driven up to their warehouse, got a new wheel, and fixed it that day. Instead, I had to wait for a new barrel to come in, and then I had to get it installed, and then I had to get it cured and let it dry, and then I had to put a new tire on it, and that was that. So there's trade-offs. If you're building a track car, I wouldn't put like super cheap wheels on your car. But I wouldn't put fucking expensive wheels on your car too. Like I love ESRs because they're right there in the middle. I'm not going to glaze them and say that they're the best wheels ever. They're good wheels. They're solid wheels. I've had no issues with them on my 1,000 horsepower Mustang, which is currently what I'm running. And on my Supra, when it made 800 horsepower and I was gapping supercharged Lamborghinis, I had no issue with them. They have a lot of nice technology in their wheel. Like they got the whole knurled edge. They're nice and lightweight. They're more lightweight than like some of their competitors. I like their wheels. If I was building a track car, and we kind of are with the S650, I would track ESR AP6s or their Apex series because that's what the wheel's designed to do. It's designed to be a lightweight rotary forged wheel with a knurled edge. That way your tire doesn't slip on the barrel, and you also have a nice lightweight rotary forged wheel. I don't know. To me, I think that's great. I don't care what sticker's on the fucking wheel. I don't care if it says ESR. If it's got that kind of stuff, it doesn't bother me. And at the end of the day, if I break one of those wheels, I'm not going to be out $1,500 a wheel. So, thumbs up for that. Cheap wheels, it depends. Like I said, don't go too cheap. And depending on the car, it really doesn't matter. I don't expect Honda Civics to be running Workmeisters or TE37s or CCWs. I don't expect it. And I'm talking older Honda Civics. If you have like a FK8 or newer Type R, maybe, yeah, probably spend a little extra money. But it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's not the end of the world. So that's that. China turbos. Here's another thing. Run them. Run a fucking China turbo. I think, I'm not gonna assume, but I think the turbo that we ran on the Honda Civic build, the K-swap, was probably a China turbo. And it ran fucking great. It ran great. It was probably a China turbo, China wastegate, China manifold. Everything was China about it. And it ran fucking great. Made great power. Had zero issues. Great, 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 great. Loved it. The trade-off is I would not run a China turbo on an expensive car. I would not do a giant China turbo on like a Mustang or a Vet or an N54. I wouldn't do that. But if you have like a fun budget build, a backyard build or something, like a little Honda Civic or I don't know, a G35 or something that's like less than $10,000, yeah, why not? You know, because if you blow your motor, it's not the end of the world, but I wouldn't do it on anything that's going to make big power or you're trying to, you know, race really hard. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, China turbos, you know, get a reputable brand, reputable China brand. Why not? Just buy that shit. Make power. Fuck everyone up on a China turbo. Easy as that. What else? China carbon. Okay, so we're going to loop back all the way to the beginning. You remember when I said don't buy carbon fiber parts? Well, I still don't think you should. However, if you are going to buy carbon fiber parts, just buy them from AliExpress. Just buy them from Alibaba. All of the parts, and I know you want to think that this isn't true, all of the parts that you do get, and they are carbon fiber, and they say that it takes them 6 weeks to make them, it doesn't take them 6 weeks to make them. It takes them 6 weeks to get them from AliExpress or Alibaba. So you might as well just do it yourself. Like I was going to buy a carbon fiber steering wheel for this car. And the guys were like, yeah, we'll sponsor you. You just got to pay $200 or $300. I forgot what it was. And we'll send you the wheel. And I was like, okay, like sure, why not? And then I started doing some research and I'm like, they're just getting the wheel from China. They're just getting the carbon fiber wheel from China. So I might as well just do it myself, and then I don't have to, one, kiss somebody's ass, and two, hey, maybe I could plug it and be like, hey, yo, guys, this wheel's fucking legit. This thing's solid as hell. Good job, you know? So if you're buying carbon fiber parts, just cut out the middleman. You're going to save yourself hundreds of dollars by just cutting out the middleman. Trust me. And if it's not a structural piece, if you're just buying a carbon hood or a carbon fender or a carbon wide body or whatever, carbon spoiler, it doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't matter. I have a part coming for this car that I got sponsored. It's an extended ZR1's like rear spoiler ducktail thing. It's pretty much this. It's a little bigger and it's carbon fiber. I guarantee it's China. I guarantee it's China. Does it make me feel better that there's a middleman? Yeah, a little bit, because if it doesn't fit, I can complain to them. But I guarantee it is coming from China. So that's just the reality of the world we live in. All of these companies that are importing these China products, they're just being the middleman. They are getting them from China, from AliExpress, Alibaba, and they are marking them up hundreds of dollars, and you guys are the suckers paying for them. So would I go out and buy these cheap downpipes from China, from AliExpress? Probably no. Would I go out and buy these cheap turbos from there? Once again, depends on the circumstances, but probably no. But this carbon fiber shit, yeah, save your money. Why not? Why the hell not? That's what I have to say about that. How long have we been going for? 23 minutes? We can go for a couple more minutes easily. Let's think of some other things really quick that I missed out on. We covered carbon fiber, we covered exhaust, we covered intake. Obviously, nobody's buying, you know, superchargers and shit, I think, from Alibaba or anything like that. But any of these appearance packages, I would just do it. Personally, like I said, I might be getting one for this car, like a steering wheel. So we'll have to see when it comes in. If it feels like garbage, well, then I'm not going to run it. But if it feels fine, fuck, why not? Who cares? Everyone else is getting theirs from there. Just letting you know that right now. Every carbon fiber steering wheel you guys see, I guarantee it's from China. So sitting here and being like, oh, Drew's going to run a China part on his ZR1, I guarantee everyone else is as well. They just have a middleman, and they paid $2,000, but that just means that they lost $1,500 because realistically, it was probably only $500 from Alibaba. So, yeah. I think that covers most of it, though. I don't think I can like drag this out any longer. I think we're pretty much covered on do's and don'ts. Don't waste your money. Shop smarter. Everybody likes having money in their bank account and shit. So, you know, you don't have to be a millionaire to have a nice car. We all know that. So, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little rant. Subscribe, and until next video, deuces.